Can you guys, can you hear me? Okay. Awesome. All right, we're gonna wait just 2 minutes. Probably have a smaller crowd today because of the daytime. Ooh, flying on. I'm a little fired up. Just warning you. Hope you can handle that at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, we'll give it 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Wow, only 10 of you, that's good. We're gonna have fun. All right, 1 more minute. Let me just let everybody know that we're starting. I know with the time change and me changing the date and the time of this, it probably threw some people off. So let me just make sure they know. Can you believe we're on week 11? It's crazy. All right. One more minute. All right, well, we're gonna get started no matter how many are on. So I'm really excited to see all of you. Let me make sure I can see everybody since there's not as many. That's good. Bravo for those of you that hopped on. If you're just getting on, welcome. Happy November 1st, if you can believe that. I am fresh back from Chicago, which was amazing. Thank you for your continued prayers for my beloved Cubs. That's why we changed the time today, because there's a game tonight and hopefully one tomorrow. So anyway, can you believe we are in week 11 of our 90-day game plan? It is so crazy. And I'm actually really excited about a smaller crowd on this call, because I believe that God has definitely put you on this for a reason. You're going to hear some stuff maybe you need to hear. Depending on how this goes, I've got a little few bullet points of things I want to touch on, but I really don't know where this is going to go. And as you guys know, these I open up to everybody in Isogenics, which is pretty awesome. I'm not going to lie. I think that's pretty awesome. My experience over the last 3 years and over 100 events that I've attended, in talking with most of the people that aren't part of my organization or our organization financially linked to me, is that there has been this missing gap. You know, the great thing about Isogenics is you have tools and resources at your fingertips at all times. And quite honestly, I mean, if you're relying on an upline to teach you something, if you're relying on something greater than you to help you do this, then I'm going to tell you, you have that gift within you, even if you're going solo. So for those of you that are watching this, yes, this will be great for you, but everything that you need is within you and in your back office to really take this to a new level. That is what I did. And we're gonna touch on the differences maybe in how I did it and maybe how you're doing it. And, you know, again, by no means do I claim to be an expert in Isogenics and network marketing. I'm pretty good at it. But it has nothing to do really, honestly, with what you may think. And, you know, when I started this 90-day game plan, doing the Zooms, in my gut, I was like, well, maybe, hold on one second. I'm getting messages that maybe people don't have the right Zoom link. So I want to make sure people have the right Zoom link. Can you guys hold for 1 second? I appreciate that. I don't want people to miss this if they're wanting to be on. So here we go.
I couldn't get on either, Tracy. I had to ask someone for the code.
Really?
I tried to click from the spot and it wouldn't let me in.
All right, let me make sure everybody's getting on that needs to. Because that would be a shame if people scheduled. Yeah, here we go. They're all having. So if you're watching this in the replay, I apologize for this little pause. Just, you know, get a drink or something. Let me make sure everybody has it. Okay. Oh, please. Yeah, my phone's blowing up. So that means people couldn't get on. I appreciate your patience. Thank you. All right, we'll give them one more second. Panic's breaking out. Panic's breaking out, I tell you. I don't want anybody to get all upset, so let's make sure everybody gets on. All right. Thank you, Nicole, for filling me in.
I didn't want to blow up your phone, so I asked somebody else.
So if you're watching the replay, this is part of vulnerability, doing things live and recording. And you know what? You just go with the flow. You don't have to panic. But if you're watching this on the replay, just go get a drink of water or an e-shot or whatever. You know what? You handle everything with grace. That's what we do. And we just handle it. All right. There we go. We got more people on. For those of you that didn't have the right link, that is my mistake. I didn't realize when I changed some things. I have two different things going on, I think. So I apologize for those of you that were panicking and trying to get on and all that. I'm happy to see more of you on. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know some of you guys will be coming in late. And I apologize again for that. Human error, that's part of everything. And that's the great thing about this. And it kind of helps me go into what I'm going to talk about. You know, I think so many of us are trying to be perfect and we decide we're going to be leaders and we think we have to have this image and everything has to be beautiful all the time. And you know what? Life just isn't that way. We're messy, including myself. And so yeah, so that was a really good lesson for you guys to see live. Handling that, you know, managing a bunch of different things at one time and not losing your cool or your intent of today. So thanks you guys for jumping on. And again, if you're watching the recording, I'm glad you were able to take a little break and go get everything you needed, a notebook, whatever, because we're going to bust into this. So again, I am grateful that all of you guys made the adjustment with the time change due to a very important baseball game here in a few hours. Continued prayers for the bats to stay alive for our Cubs so we can go on to finish this out in 7 would be great. Anyway, back to what I was talking about before you guys were all not on. You know, I don't claim at all to be an expert in anything in life except honestly the hard work that I do on myself every day. I am a professional personal developer on me. And what I have done is use my experiences in that to help others. And for those of you that have been on the last 10 weeks, you've seen the evolution of even this Zoom call. And when I started this Zoom call, I had a different intention when I started it to what has kind of developed. And that's another thing. You kind of have to trust your gut instinct. And, you know, God gives us your gut for a reason. And for a long time, for about 40 years, I ignored that gut instinct because it didn't fit into the cookie cutter pretty picture that I wanted it to. And so I would ignore that gut instinct all the time, and I'd get smacked upside the head by a God shot, or things would go crazy wrong, and then I was doing damage control. And I don't know if you can relate to that. I'm sure you probably can in some aspects of your life. And so as this 12 weeks has evolved, not just for you, but for me, I have seen this taking a very different direction, not just for you, but for me. And this call, although my preparation time on each week has gotten less and less and less, I think they've become more and more valuable as we have gone, because I'm just trusting my gut and what I believe, and my experience has led me to tell you probably what you need to hear. Now, what you do with that is totally up to you. And I've gotten amazing messages and beautiful emails and all that about how this is helping you, and that's awesome. You know, I'm going to touch on more of that in a minute. But if you don't take things and apply them, you know, I'm just here for inspirational entertainment, and that's not great for me. That's not success to me. That's great if I touched a part of you and made you cry or whatever, and it moved you for a moment. But my goal is not to move you for a moment. My goal is to help you move for a lifetime, so that you can make a bigger impact in your life, not necessarily in Isagenix, but maybe with your spouse, your children, anybody you come in contact with. Because to me, that is success. We're put here on this earth to make a difference in the world. And although, yes, Isagenix is one of the greatest things to have ever come into my life, and it has given me a vehicle to use my God-given gifts to make an impact, it's great. But our real goal in life is to make a difference in this world. And whatever that looks like for you, awesome. Now, again, I am not an expert. So, you know, take what you need from this and leave the rest. Many of you probably don't enjoy this, and that's totally okay too. I'm not here to make friends or anything like that. I'm just using my experiences to try and help you. And ironically, the people that have really enjoyed this, and you know, there's a nice mix here. There's some people on this call that are very, very close to me, that know me pretty well, spent a lot of time with me. And then there are those of you that know me just from what you see or from whatever. And the ones that really have enjoyed this are the ones that don't have a very close relationship with me. And I think the reason that the ones that are closer to me, maybe they get upset with me or they're not loving me so much, is because they know if they're in a direct vicinity of me, that I'm going to push them even harder. And it's one thing to sit back on a computer and listen to what you're hearing and to get motivation and whatever, but there's really not a ton of accountability. I will never know if you ever actually apply it, or you say you're going to do it and you don't. But the ones that are closer to me, they know that I know that I know. And I think sometimes that's when it gets uncomfortable. And I'm just going to be really transparent. That's why I, in my life, didn't have a ton of people really close to me, because I didn't want anybody calling me out on my crap. I didn't want any accountability. I didn't want anybody to see me fail, things like that. So it's so funny to see the faces. I know many of you very, very well, and many of you know me very well. And not just from what I share with you, but I know that for those that know me well, over the last especially 6 months, as I have worked harder on myself, those that are closest to me have not only felt the shift in me, but that shift in themselves, maybe even with a relationship with me. So I want you to know that this is a process for all of us. If you have gained something from this, great, but I please apply whatever you believe is helping you and help make a difference in the lives of others, not just in Isagenix, but all over the world, and anybody that you come in contact with. And those of you that are close to me and maybe have felt that shift and uneasiness from something that I've stirred up, not just in myself, but in you, I want you to know how valuable you are in my life, how much I love you, and I'm growing as I go along too. So I just wanted to say that. I think it's really important that everybody knows how valuable they are. And it may not always come across that way. And I just want you to know you all have tremendous value. You have a gift to give this world, and whatever you learn from me, if you do, great. Just use that love and light and spread it on the world. So the first 10 weeks we talked about the qualities or the habits of great leaders as told by Eric Worre. And those were amazing. And I know somebody has kept a list. I don't have it in front of me. Maybe I do. Hold on. I do. Look at that. Okay, so I'm going to go over the 10 habits of amazing leaders. Number 1 is vision. Number 2 is belief. Number 3 is simplicity. Number 4 is positivity. Number 5 is hard work. Number 6 is focus. Number 7 is to be unreasonable. Number 8 is promotion. Number 9 is strategy. And number 10 is immersion. And so vision, that one's pretty self-explanatory. You have to have a vision of where you're headed. It's like if you're trying to shoot an arrow, if you don't have a target, you have no idea where you're going and you're just kind of shooting aimlessly. And so that's why it was important in that first week, not only just to make a pretty vision board, and I don't just mean for your isogenics business, but I mean for your life, where you're seeing going. And you know, if I told you, a few weeks ago, I told you, if you wouldn't stand in front of your vision and take a bullet for it, it's probably not your real vision. It's probably not strong enough. Because your vision needs to be unshakable, that no matter who comes into your path or what comes into your path, your eyes are still on your vision and nothing is going to stop you. And I think that's where a lot of you are missing the ball. Because you put a vision board together that looks really pretty, and if somebody walked into your office or wherever you're keeping it, you'd be okay showing it to them. But I'm sure there's some uncomfortable things that you need to put on that board that maybe somebody would challenge you with. I know that if some people walked into my office right now and looked at my vision board, it'd make some people uncomfortable because it's that big. And I think some of you are playing small to appease others. And so when things come in your path, it's easy to just push it aside because it wasn't that big. You wouldn't take a bullet for it. So again, we're going to revisit that vision. If it's not something you would take a bullet for, it's not big enough. You're going to have to dig a little deeper to see really what you have envisioned for your life. Remember, you only have one shot down here on earth. One. It took me 40 years to figure that out. And I was kind of like, oh crap, I wasted the first 40, playing small. So think bigger. Take every moment as a gift. Trust me, your life can turn on the drop of a dime. And honestly, if mine hadn't, I'm probably not sitting here in front of you talking like this. I probably would still be playing small. I probably would be telling you what you want to hear. I would probably be stuck in perfection and self-sabotaging. But I'm telling you right now, your life can change at the drop of a dime. Do not waste 1 second. So make that vision big. Belief. Again, we have tons of skills and tools and amazing trainings and events and all that's amazing. But if the belief that you have in yourself of you actually doing this isn't a 10 out of a 10, you're wasting your time. And we're going to touch more on belief in a little bit and what that means. Simplicity. I am the most duplicatable person on the planet because I don't make things complicated when it comes to isogenics. What isn't simple is the hard work that I do on myself every day that you guys don't see. And we're going to touch more on that because that's, I believe, where everybody, all of you guys are so skilled. All of you have beautiful gifts and qualities, but it's this belief and simplicity that you're missing too. Hard work, no doubt you're here in the middle of the afternoon. You're hard workers. You have good work ethics. This is probably the area that most people nail. I mean, you're hard workers. You know, that one I don't think we really need to go over too much. Focus. This is a big one. This is a big one for me too, because with social media and apps on our phone and dings and notifications, and not to mention our life and our kids and our families and all sorts of things. And, you know, many of us work full-time jobs and are spinning plates and wearing different hats and all that. To keep our focus is very, very, very difficult. And this is a skill set that I have to work on every day. If you're one that loses your focus off your vision, this is probably an area to put a big star by that you need to work on. Focus is really, really, really important. My first event, I heard Lynn Hagedorn talk about laser sharp focus, and that stuck with me. I had that written everywhere. Everywhere there was a distraction, I wrote down laser sharp focus, laser sharp focus. And it has stuck with me the last 3.5 years. And so wherever you find yourself being distracted, or, heck, change it to your screensaver on your phone. That lock screen, every time you want to go check notifications on Facebook, you're going to have to face your laser sharp focus and you're like, is this really going to serve me or the people that I want to bless? Probably not. Probably not. So that's a really good one. Being unreasonable, this is huge. I was unreasonable about my vision. I didn't care who was upset over it. I didn't care if people, were mad at me. You must be unreasonable in what you believe in. And again, the vision, belief, being unreasonable, all those tie together. Promotion, you have to stay consistent. That's what I see as promotion. I've talked about promotion as the one on this list that I had the hardest time about. I'll get to that, Nicole. What that was in the beginning, I was like, promotion, like, ooh, I don't want to be like saying I'm great. It's not bragging. It's not any of that. It's just honestly promotion. If you can see that as consistency, letting people know that you're in the game 100% at all times of life, not just isogenics, you guys, life. I'm 100% all in life every single day. And anybody that knows me knows that that's true. Sometimes it's really passionate. Sometimes it's more sitting back and taking it in. But either way, I am 100% engaged all times in life. Strategy, absolutely, there's some strategy. But your number one strategy, honestly, your number one strategy should be, who can I bless today? Who can I help today? Because that strategy will get you out of your own crap in your head. It's hard to serve people when you're feeling icky about yourself. So if you just get yourself out of the equation, sometimes it doesn't mean ignore or enable, or it doesn't mean be codependent. It doesn't mean any of those things. What it means is, okay, I know I'm going through my stuff right now, and I will touch on that to Nicole's question, what that looked like for me in the beginning. But your number one strategy is, who can I bless today? And we'll get into more of that. And then immersion, staying in the game, 100% surrounding yourself with what you want your life to be. And I'm telling you right now, if you're around negative people all the time, you're immersing yourself in that. That's like bathing in crap. If you think about okay, so out here in Gilbert, Arizona, we have the nastiest water on the planet. Like literally, you couldn't pay me to drink the water that comes out of the faucet. Yet every single day we step in our shower, and we may not be drinking that water, but it's going into our body somehow. And it's like poison. It's like nasty. So I want you to think about, as we peel off the layers, what are you immersing yourself in? Who are you surrounding yourself with? Because if you're opening yourself up and you're still surrounding yourself with negative Nancys and bitter Barneys, you're just infecting yourself over and over and over again. And I know without a doubt, that is why I am ultra sensitive when I have something negative in my aura or around me. It's like, I got to get out. I will not tolerate negativity. I will not tolerate gossip. I will not tolerate people that aren't going to take action. I still love them. Don't get me wrong. I don't judge them, and I don't not love them. However, I can't have that in my bubble, because as I've opened myself up so raw, I'm more susceptible to infection. Does that make sense? So that's maybe why some of you are really sensitive when you're around a situation that you used to be able to just sit in the middle of crap all the time and take it and even involve yourself in it. I was that person. I could sit in a shitstorm all day long and not even be fazed by it. And I used to wear that as a badge of honor. And quite honestly, that was just a direct reflection of the lack of work I was doing on myself, right? If you're comfortable in those situations, I'm telling you right now, you are not working on you. Because if you are working on you, you're going to be like an open wound all the time. And those situations, those kind of people will rub you in a different way. It doesn't mean they're bad people. I was that person. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't mean that you judge them. You do not judge those people. You still love them, but you have to guard your energy. You have to guard your personal space. That is why a very select few really get very close access to me. I know that sounds harsh, but it's really, really important for me to be able to do what I do and give what I give, and to be 100% engaged with the people that are in front of me. I have to guard that. And you do too. It doesn't mean that I make excuses for people either. But again, whatever you're immersing yourself in is what's going to get into you. So if you're around negativity, and yes, some of you are married to that, I don't know what to tell you. You're going to have to make some decisions. I don't know. I'm not telling you all to get divorced or anything like that, by all means. At some point, some of these characteristics have come in my own children at times. And, I can't, leave my children. However, I can really strongly educate them and let them know what is acceptable, what is tolerable, and what is not. If they're coming to me with negativity, they better be backing it up with a solution, always, or a plan of solution. And so that's maybe a little tip for you guys that, this is in your own home. You have that person in your own home. How do you deal with it? Yes, I'm not married. I don't have a spouse. I get that. But I do have 2 children that are very, very different from each other. They're different from me. They're still young. They don't have the 44 years of wisdom that I do. And so it is my job to walk the walk that I talk, not just with you guys, but with them. And so when they are that negative energy that can infect me, I have to put the brakes on that. Although I can't kick them out of my house because they're my own children, I can, with love, with grace, redirect and educate them. And if they choose not to, they're going to know that mom is putting the bubble up a little bit. I still love them. I still can nurture them. However, they're not allowed in the bubble until they come up with a solution. And I know for some of you that are parents, you're like, holy crap, that's ballsy, right? But it's so important. It is so important for me to be able to do what I do for you, to do what I do for them. It is key. Yes, Alyssa, the no complaining rule that I shared with our team a long time ago by John Gordon. It was a great book, and it's practices that I use not just in my life with Isagenix, but in all areas of my life. The No Complaining Rule by John Gordon. It's a great audiobook too. But that applies in my house. We have signs up, and my kids know without a doubt. And, with spouses, this may be a little more challenging. It's probably why I don't have one, because I'm not sure many people could deal with this in a partnership relationship. And I get it. I've been married. I've been in long-term relationships. So don't think I don't get it. I do. However, again, you got to go back to your vision. Does it support your vision? Does it support your vision, not just for you and your family? So I know that some of you are squirming in your seats, and I get it. That's tough stuff, especially when it's under your own roof. But again, you only get one shot down here, one. And you're going to have to ask yourself some hard questions. What you're immersed in supporting your vision? Is it helping you in the belief you have in yourself? And if it's not, it all intertwines. These 10 things all intertwine together. So let me look really quick before I go on. Tracy, what was your vision in the beginning? Honestly, when I started Isagenix, that's a really great question, because I get asked that a lot. And it hasn't changed, believe it or not. And some of you might be surprised by this, even you, Nicole, who asked the question and know me pretty well. My vision in the beginning, honestly, when I started Isagenix, I just wanted to feel better. I didn't intend to share it. When I made the decision on day 4 that I was going to share this, to expose myself, to peel off the layers publicly, my goal was 2 goals. Oh, I got to mute somebody. Somebody's unmuted. My goal was to not only bless people, to use my experience to benefit others. And that's something I learned in recovery, to be honest with you. And I continuously learn in recovery. We share experience, strength, and hope in order to help other people. And when I made the decision to publicly expose myself, to share Isagenix, I envisioned what would happen. Did I actually believe it would happen? I don't know. I did envision it. I saw it crystal clear. I saw masses of people coming, even though my social network here locally was zero. I had Casey, Joey, and my friend Kim. That was it in Arizona. I was the black sheep of Arizona. Nobody really liked me anymore for a while, and rightfully so. I had been toxic and negative for a long, long time. I would have hightailed it away from me too, so I get that. My vision was that, to help and bless people, whatever that looked like. It wasn't necessarily to build a huge organization, and that is the God's honest truth. That is, I knew if I helped people, the right people would show up. I knew if I had no agenda other than to serve and help people, show them my experience, even in a short 4 days in isogenics and how that had helped me, and using the tools that I had gained in recovery and marrying them together, it was a perfect storm. And that was just my main focus. And the other vision, it's a two-parter, because this is where a lot of you are missing the boat. And I just talked with somebody today at length for about 2.5 hours on this. My number one vision was to grow myself every day. To grow myself every day. And what happens is some of you may have had a little bit of success. And the reason you had the success you had is because you were willing to be vulnerable and grow yourself in the beginning to learn what you were doing, right? And then all of a sudden you get, a lanyard that says a certain number of stars and circles, or people are perceiving you as a leader, or maybe you even have just 2 people in your organization that are looking up to you, and all of a sudden you switch the growing of yourself off into management mode, and you quit growing yourself. And I'm here to tell you 100%, number one in my vision, I still leave this earth and leave my house and leave every moment with anybody. How can I bless them? And how am I going to grow me in the process? Those 2 visions have not changed from every vision board that I've ever done from day one. And those are bulletproof. Those are things I would take a bullet for. And those are massive, and it's hard because, what does that look like? What does that look like? And for a lot of you, that looks really, really different. I don't have the same life, as you. I don't. And so, you're going to have to really dig deep. And this is where a lot of you don't want to. I'll inspire you. I'm hearing what you're telling me. And yet you'll start to dig deep and it'll get too hard, or it'll make too many waves, or somebody will get upset with you. And so you stop. The difference between you and me is I don't stop. I don't stop. And trust me, I make a lot of waves. I do. A lot. And they're not the really pretty ones that you look at in the sunset sometimes. Sometimes they're the ones that knock you on your butt. But I'm okay with that. That is the only difference between you and me, is I continuously do the work, especially when it's hard. And, for a lot of you, this is new. You got a few decades under your belt of habits and patterns that, although they don't serve you, they're what you know, and it's what's comfortable, right? And when it starts to get hard and the digging gets a little deeper and you're exposing things that maybe you don't want to revisit, I get that. I'm not having you revisit them to stay there. I'm having you revisit them so you can go back and reprogram it and start new. And that is something that I've had to do. And it's something I continue to do. Let's see. I want to see some of these before I move on. Yeah, you do have to be true to yourself, but we throw that phrase around, I'm true to myself, but you really, really aren't. I mean, I see so many people say, I just need to be true to myself, but really, are you? Are you willing to go to the deep, dark places? And I know that some of you that are watching this may not enjoy this training, and I'm totally okay with that. But I know that if it helps one of you, you have to go back and dig to parts of you when you were, 10 and under. And a lot of you are like, why? I'm 40 something years old. Why do I need to do that? Because it's those experiences when you were under 10 that have created the habits and patterns that you have today. And at 10 years old, they served you, protected you, whatever they did for you then. Chances are, if you're sitting here and still listening to me and have come back week after week after week, I'm onto something, because those habits and patterns that I learned at a 10-year-old age, yes, they helped me then, but they didn't help me at 40. They didn't help me stay in tune with my vision. They certainly weren't helping me bless people. In fact, they were more of a repellent, those habits and patterns. And so, some of you may be like, yeah, Trace, tell me how to connect with people. Yeah, Trace, tell me how to explain you plus 2, them plus 2. Yeah, Trace, Tell me why, how do you get people to events? Yeah, Trace, really seriously, the more you work on yourself, those things become very, very easy. I'm telling you right now, the reason that comes so flawlessly to me is because I do the digging. The digging of the habits. I've changed habits and patterns that for 4 decades I had. But it took a lot of hard work. And it's still hard work. I'm still digging. I didn't all of a sudden hit, millionaire, maxed out business center, and like, Trace, you're pretty damn good at this. You can stop growing. No, I'm growing even harder now. I'm digging into deeper places that I didn't even know were there now. And quite honestly, if you're not growing, you're dying. And if I stop growing, this is a business of duplication. If you stop growing, or if all of a sudden you think, you know what, I'm happy with my income. My lanyard says I'm pretty cool, so I obviously know what I'm doing. I had somebody say to me once, well, Tracy, this was when I was just first starting. This was my defining moment where I was going to be different. She said to me, Trace, I make $17,000 a month. I think I know what I'm doing more than you do. I said, okay, that is so who I don't want to be. And I'm not. Just because I make so-and-so dollars a month does not mean I know more than you. However, I do know more about digging, probably than most, digging deep on the you. However, that was a beautiful, painful moment that happened. And I was like, that is not what leadership is about. Leadership is not about the stars and circles and the dollars. Leadership is about how willing you are to dig deep in who you are so that you can be the light for others, so that you can show people that it's possible. And I don't just mean in isogenics. Many of you are parents. This is important for your families. This is important for the legacies and not just your children, but your grandchildren. The things that I'm showing my kids today will go on for generations to come. And I spent the weekend in Chicago with my family. And oh my goodness, I love them so much. They're amazing. And tough love and big hearts is definitely who they are. And I was able to see how lessons learned from a few generations deep have trickled down in duplication, including myself and including into my children. We're talking 4 generations. So you're crazy to think that what you do today is not going to affect the people that you love the most. And this is also going to affect who you bring into your life and who's attracting into your life. And, I believe in the law of attraction. I do believe that you attract what you are. And if you're attracting something that rubs you the wrong way, you need to flip that mirror around and say, oh man, what is this a reflection of me? Because it always is. It always is. Those that rub me the wrong way, there is something about that either A, I'm lacking, and that's why I am or it is exactly something about me that I don't like, or it's the thing I beat myself up over. Now, the thing with law of attraction is this, so many of us, whatever you believe, will put out into the universe that I want this and I want this, and, I'm going to breathe this into my spirit and my soul. And although that is somewhat true, you have to apply the law of action on top of it. It's one thing to have your vision board and want to attract that into your life. And, if you declare it, it's going to be. There's some truth to that, but then you have to take action. It's like faith without works is dead. That is like law of attraction, law of action. That's all great. That's universe stuff, which is all fine and good, but the creator, God, created the universe, in my opinion. So faith without works is dead. It's law of attraction versus law of action. So whatever your beliefs are, you can understand one of those 2 ways of thinking. And so, for me, it's faith without works is dead. It's true. It doesn't work unless you work it. So it's great if you have a vision board, but what actions are you taking to make that a reality? You have faith that things will work out, but then are you just sitting there waiting for things to happen? Or are you going to get to work? Are you going to do the hard work on you to make it happen, right? That's the truth. It doesn't work unless you work it. That's in life. That's in your faith. That's in your work ethic. That's in recovery. That's in parenting. Walk the walk you talk. Faith without works is dead. Law of attraction versus law of action. I think that covers everybody's belief system all in one. Would you agree? We got you covered? Awesome. So, we talk about leadership, and, most of you on this call have at least brought one person into your organization, yeah? Raise your hand if you've brought at least one person, and keep them up. One person into your Isagenix organization. So pretty much everybody. Awesome. So you're a leader. If you're a parent, you're a leader. If you are anything in this world, which you are, you're a leader. Every aspect of your life will involve some form of leadership. Now, many of you wear a parenting leadership hat. Some of you wear, whether you're employed, maybe you're somebody's boss, maybe people report to you, maybe you report to people. You're a leader. And regardless if it's an like all of a sudden you become a network marketer, and all of a sudden this leadership thing freaks you out, right? And you think you have to fit a certain mold. And I'm going to tell you right now, it isn't the case. I definitely don't fit into any mold ever created, and neither do you. You are you, and you are beautifully you. And you, as you are, have huge potential to be the leader that you have always dreamt to be. Not just in Isagenix, but in every aspect of your life. And I keep saying that because I know many of you want to build an Isagenix business. It's why you probably popped on this call, because Tracy's going to give the secret sauce. Here it is. Give you all the secrets to the success. And we'll get to that. But it really, really isn't that. Being a leader in every aspect of your life, how you do anything is how you do everything. How I carry myself in my Isagenix business is how I carry myself as the provider in my home, as the single parent, as the person that helps the little old lady down the street. How I do anything is how I do everything. Yes, I can wear all different kinds of hats, but how I do all of it, regardless of the cool hat I'm wearing, it's consistent. It is always consistent. And if you meet me on the street, what you've seen on social media is exactly who I am. There's different parts of me that maybe you'll see, but as far as the leader that I am in everything I do, that is 100% consistent. Okay? How many of you guys know who John Wooden is? Raise your hand if you do. Raise your hand if you know who John Wooden is, and keep him up if you know. Wow, not many of you do. Cool. So sometime between now and whenever, write this down. You're going to Google John Wooden. He is one of the most winning basketball coaches of all time. And yes, I love sports, but I love leadership more, good leadership more. And I've always liked him, and it wasn't until I really Wooden, W-O-O-D-E-N, John. He's passed away. He's not alive anymore. However, the things that made him a successful coach have very little to do with the game of basketball. And that is my point. The leadership skills I'm going to help you with have almost zero to do with Isagenix and network marketing. But they will apply in every part of your life, which is important because, again, how you do anything is how you do everything. You don't want to be this Isagenix leader here, and then in your own home, you're a pushover, or vice versa, right? You don't want to be this powerful head of your household, but then, walk into an event in Isagenix and all of a sudden shrink yourself, right? Would you agree that that is incongruent and very confusing? And if people are attracted to you and they see that kind of flip-flopping, do you realize that confused people will do nothing? And if you're confusing them with your leadership in different areas of your life and all the different hats you're wearing, do you realize that they're not going to trust you? They might like you, and that's okay, but the trust and respect won't be as strong. Are you getting me? Is this helping? Do you understand what that means? Many of you are leading so you're liked, and that's great. If you get liked, that's a bonus, but it's not the most important thing. Trust and respect are way, way, way more important than being liked. And although I'm not liked by a lot of people, that's totally okay. Even those that don't like me, they do trust me and they do respect me because I'm consistent in all areas of my life with the leadership. My kids know when we go to an Isogenics event and they are there that they get people come up to them and tell them that they love me, whatever. They're like, yeah, she's exactly the same at home as she is with all of you. And, when I'll be talking to them and Joey, my son, he will be doing something and I'll just give him a look. He's like, oh, he goes, I know it's coming next. I'm like, say it. He goes, how you do anything is how you do everything. I'm like, bingo. And so, carrying these principles and this pyramid of success is really, really important. And they're John Wooden's. They're not Tracy O'Malley's. It's all John Wooden. But it is how I lead. It has always been. When I made the decision to be congruent in all areas of my life, I was doing all these things. And the number one thing is faith and patience. And then, faith without works is dead. Law of attraction, but without the action, so for whatever your beliefs are, this comes into play. You've got to have faith and you got to have patience. For those of you in Isogenics, whether you've been in for 5 minutes, 5 years, 10 years, whatever, this takes time. The reason it happened faster for me is because I was digging deeper a lot faster and at a lot higher rate than you. Okay? I'm willing to go as deep as I have to go to grow. Are you? Honestly, it's the only difference between your level of success on paper and Isogenics is that. It's your willingness to go deep into you to change habits and patterns that don't serve you in maybe your life, in your home, in your career, in Isogenics. So, but the number one thing he preaches about is competitive greatness. And that doesn't mean be the best in everything, be the best. It's be your best. Be your best. Don't compare. Your best and my best are two totally different things. But when you're not doing your very best. And that's the hard part, is because you have to look in your own mirror. There are people around you that'll be happy to judge you. They're irrelevant, quite honestly. Who gives a damn? They're irrelevant. And, you gauging your success based on mine, you might as well just put a fork in you because you're done if you start doing that. But are you doing your best? I talk about a perfect effort every day. I'm a recovered perfectionist. Perfectionism is the greatest form of self-abuse you can have. However, perfect efforts is one of the greatest things you can do for yourself. In anything that you do, in everything, whether it's parenting, whether it's working out, competitive greatness against yourself. My goal is to always be better today than I was yesterday. And again, that comes with the digging. I've got some tremendous success in my life. I do. I've got amazing children that didn't just grow up that way. I worked really hard on that. They're my greatest achievement. They're great human beings. I've had great success in Isogenics. And you want to know why? In those two areas is I've never, ever compared myself to anybody. Ever. The minute I decided to share Isogenics, my goal was to bless people and grow myself. Bless people, grow myself. Nicole, that was my vision from day one, and that hasn't changed. Now, that's a broad spectrum. It's hard to put that on a vision board. But every moment, every prayer that I do, those two things, how can I grow today and who can I bless today? How can I grow today? Who can I bless today? That's massive. I would take a bullet for those. So then when you've got this perfect effort that you give every day in every way, in all things, always in all ways, you get me? Always in all ways, you give your very, very best. Now, does that always grow your Isogenics business? No. No. because most of you will give up doing that because you're not seeing results. So you stop giving your 100% perfect effort because you're not getting the rank advancement. Or Tracy said, I just had to be my best self and it didn't happen in 3 weeks. So you know what? I'm going back to my old habits and patterns that are comfortable, that I don't have to work as hard at, right? Remember I said patience is one of the number one things. You do this until you're 6 feet under. Until you're no longer on this earth, you give 100% in all things. Poise and confidence. This was something I had to work hard on. You know, your posture, poise, you know, how you enter a room. And I promise you, if you're given 100% perfect effort in everything you do, it's a much easier to walk into the room with a posture that says, I am here to help you. I'm here to bless you. I am here to serve you. And I'm here to love you. But I am here to grow me too, right? You can't have one without the other. There's a reason that, you know, that competitive greatness is at the top of that pyramid, because you can't have the poise and confidence if you aren't your 100% best, your best every day. Would you agree? And with giving your 100% perfect effort every day, confidence absolutely comes, because you can lay your head on the pillow and say, you know what? I may have not gotten the material results I wanted. However, I know in my heart, between me and God, who is really only the person that knows if I gave 100% or not, I can lay my head on the pillow and know I gave it my very best. You may have people or uplines in your life that may tell you you're not giving your best. And they might be right, but really, you know. And that's way more important than anybody telling you. I can look you in the eyes and I already know if you're giving your 100% best. I never have to say a word. And you know that I know. You know that I know that I know. And that's why it's very hard for some people to be around me, because they know that I know. And I don't ever say a word, because it isn't about me. So, you know, keep mirrors handy. For 40 years, I avoided mirrors. I really did. It's probably why I've self-sabotaged my body so much over the last 40 years as well. Many of you have too, because we don't want to look in the mirror. How's that for a big smack upside the head? Some of you may have been self-sabotaging your own body because you don't want to really look at the hard truth. Not just in your body, but what's inside. So sit with that. So another part of the pyramid, as we move down, conditioning, skills, and spirit. Like that's like, many of you are doing the conditioning and want the skill sets and showing up at events, right? But you haven't even touched your own personal perfect effort, and you don't even have the confidence and the posture. But you're trying to, let's mask our conditioning and our skill sets and our spirit by showing up and rah, rah, rah. But you missed half of the puzzle. Your puzzle will never be complete. And that's why so many of you are so uncomfortable. Would you agree? You've got parts of the pieces of the puzzle. You can see it, but until you have that one piece that is so important, your puzzle isn't complete. Have you ever done a puzzle and you get all the way to the end, and then all of a sudden, like, I lost a piece, and it's no matter how long and how much time you invested in putting that beautiful puzzle together, if you don't put in that last piece, there's zero satisfaction in it, right? Does that make sense? Your number one missing piece is your very, very perfect effort in everything and always, always. So a lot of you are wanting the conditions and skills and spirit. I'm here to tell you that's all fine and good. Those things come so much easier when you're giving your 100%. And I'm going to keep harping on it, you guys. I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but it's that important. It is that important. Self-control, alertness, initiative, intentness, those are important. Industriousness, friendship, loyalty, cooperation, enthusiasm. Many of you have all that stuff down, nailed. Many of you are so loyal, almost to a fault. You're loyal to uplines. You're loyal to teammates that are not good for you and aren't serving you and aren't helping you grow as a person. But because you're loyal, you're thinking, if I'm just loyal enough, maybe eventually I'll get really good at this. Maybe my business will grow. I'm here to tell you, if you're not giving your perfect effort, doesn't matter how loyal you are. Doesn't matter. Enthusiasm. So many of you got this one nailed down. Sorry. Got that nailed down. Okay. So what does that mean? You're like, oh my gosh, what? I don't know how to lead my friends who are in the program. I still want them to like me. Well, this has been a really hard one for me too, because most of the people that I'm friends with and that I love are in isogenics. And because I have established myself in every area of my life that I am in a leadership role, it doesn't mean I, interject my opinions and all that on people, and I don't start, coaching them in every aspect of their life. However, what happens is as I evolve and as I grow, even my friendships have changed. And, there are certain friends that no matter what, I'm around them. We are just friends. We barely ever talk about business. Because you have to establish those boundaries. And if I have a friend that I know is actively wanting to learn the business and keeps wanting to learn it, and they want to get together with me, I have to make it very clear. I'm like, listen, are we getting together as friends or as business partners? And I need to know if it's one or the other. I mean, I'm still going to show up as Tracy in the strong, confident posture. I'm going to show up as me, but if you're going to want to talk about business, I need to know that ahead of time, because then you're going to hear some truth that you may not want to hear. Now, for friends, we'll just be friends. If you're going to come to me with gossip and stuff, know that I'm still going to deliver truth to you, but it'll be different. And, you're going to have to decide whether you're a leader in all ways, always, or if you're going to be flip-flopping. I mean, how you do anything is how you do everything. How I show up in my friendships is how I show up in my isogenics business, is how I show up in my parenting role. I show up consistently in all areas. Now, how the dialogue goes is very different, but I'm still showing up with my competitive greatness at the very top. I'm going to be the very best parent. I'm going to be a perfect effort parent. Doesn't mean I don't screw up, because I do. Oh my God, do I screw up. But I'm 100% going to give a perfect effort. Again, how you do anything is how you do everything. Is this helping anybody? Okay. So that comes with truth. And, we can tie this in with compliance, because I see a lot of people talk about, especially in social media, talking about being their best them and doing this and doing that. And, you talk a good social media game. But if I were to sit in front of you, are you really being your best you? That's not telling the truth. Are you sharing that you're being your best you to get people in your isogenics business, and then they come into your organization with all this baggage, and because you have put on this facade that you've got it all together, all of a sudden, do you ever think your business organization is going to grow? Because they're going to take one look at you and either see the truth that you were full of crap when you're posting that stuff on Facebook, or you're going to keep that facade in front of them and they're going to think they could never do this because they all have all this internal baggage. I mean, it's not really compliant in my head, compliant with your soul. I mean, we're talking about compliance with your soul right now. Telling your truth. Telling your truth. And honestly, I'm going to tell you right now that is 100% why I'm successful in isogenics. From the very beginning, I never pretended that I was doing great when I wasn't. It didn't mean I vented and dumped all my crap on everybody, but people saw me evolve and grow through my stuff, not just share it when I was done. And I think many of you are going through stuff and you're putting out the pretty picture, and then once you've gotten through it, then maybe you'll share the hard parts. Is that true? Or are you letting people see the truth, the real truth, that this is hard, that this growing ourselves is really hard, that working a network marketing business is really, really challenging. The real truth is really only 2% will have a network marketing income where they can sustain a family. 2%. Are you doing 2% things? Are you telling the truth? Are you walking the walk you talk? Or are you just putting what sounds good on social media to hopefully get a person like me into your isogenics business? I guarantee you won't happen, because they'll see right through it. And what they'll do is they'll sit out for 6 months in your organization and then contact somebody like me. Promise you. It's happening more and more and more. So it's best to just be truthfully who you are up front. I'm serious. This is happening more and more because Isagenix is becoming more of a well-known name. And yeah, you may say the right thing to get them, but you won't keep them. You will not keep them, I promise you, because people are waiting 6 months to jump into a leadership that they believe in. So it's best to just be completely who you are up front. You'll attract the right people that way, and you'll keep them. Are you hearing me? Yeah, you'll get the PIB. Yeah, they may order a few products, but if they really want this business and they start digging a little deeper and they really start to look at you as who they want to link arms with, if you aren't congruent in all areas of your life, they're going to see it and they won't do it with you. I promise you. They will jump ship. That's like probably sending some of you into a panic attack, right? Right? Yeah, Nicole. Are you waving at me for a reason?
Okay, so quick question. I don't mean to interrupt, but someone just asked me the same question, and I've had it myself. So I get that you set the expectations from the start, especially with like anybody that joins, but the blues, like how do you tough love the blues without them pulling away? Because that seems to be a struggle for a lot. I mean, I get you set the expectation first, but if you're friends with that person before they came into your organization, how do you then go back and reset those boundaries with them?
That's great. It's a great question. And because I'm predominantly red, clearly, as I have dug deeper on myself, and you and I have shared this, Nicole, and I've shared it with many people as we sit at the University in Action, red proud. We're wearing our red proud like it's this badge of honor. And quite honestly, you can be red and have no intimate relationships in your life because you're such a jerk. And I was that person. I was that person for a long, long time. And when you're dealing, the thing with this is how do you do that? You have to continuously work on you. And I have embraced so much of the blue that was always in me that I stuffed for so long because I figured if I let people see my blue, they would walk all over me, they would hurt me, they would reject me, they would do all these things. However, as I've dug deep and really unpacked the baggage of the habits and patterns of 40 years of stuff, there is so much more blue in there than I ever expected. And because I've tapped into it and I truly do have compassion for people, it doesn't mean I enable them. Blues have a tendency to be enablers. I help them bring out their inner red. And I say a lot of me too. I understand. I never say, well, you should be like this. If you start telling people they should probably do this or you should consider this, before you say and validate their feelings and say, I understand, I've been there too. That is the number one way to help keep your boundaries intact and expectations very transparent. Because I will say, I've been there and I understand. And, not but. I never say but, because then you're going to shit all over them after you use the but. I say, I understand and I've been there and this is what I have found with me. And so it becomes not like me telling you what to do. And Nicole, I've had you very close to me and you've heard me talk like that. I'm a fireball and I can talk to you a little different than I can talk to other people. Amy next to you on the screen, she's more of a blue. She says she's a yellow, but she's really blue. And, you are. And the way I talk to her has to be different. At the same point, I will still always say, I understand, I've been there too, and this is what I have found. So the goal with me is, for us to label ourselves a color, for those of you that don't know what we're talking about when it comes to the color, it's colorcode.com. Take it. You'll either be one of 4 colors, but the goal for everybody, and my goal to help everybody, is to be all of them. I am 100% not just red anymore. 4 years ago, I was all red. There was no gray area. 0, 0, 0, no white, no yellow, no blue, 0, red, 100%. And it wasn't until I really did the work on myself that I am predominantly almost even across the board today, red, blue, and white. almost, I mean, I am 100% right there. Yellow, I still struggle with. And that's because it wasn't modeled for me. And I'm still working on that. But that's a whole different story. So, you know, helping people tap into their parts of them. All of us have all the colors in us. It's just it goes back to tapping into 10 years old. And what habits and patterns did we learn then? You weren't born a blue. Your habits and patterns your environment helped you become that. Your role in your family helped you become that. My role in my family developed me into a red, for sure. Perfectionism, competitiveness, because I was never good enough, or I perceived that I was never good enough. That's not the truth. And the other thing is replaying truths into the lies we've told ourselves. For a long, long time, I would say, that's just the way I am. I'm Irish. I'm born that way. Whatever crap story I would take. And, you know, even when triggers happen, and trust me, being back home in Chicago with my family had lots of triggers. However, they were beautiful. Where they used to send me running, they did. And for my family that watches this, it sent me running for many years because it scared me. Now those triggers help me. It's so beautiful because I can tell myself the truths and quit telling the stories of the past that I've told myself that kept me in my old habits and patterns. Are you feeling me on that? So if you've got families and stuff from family, which this is where most of our patterns and habits stem from, most of it's really great, but there are some stuff. Use those triggers as a beautiful experience to help now tell the real truth. The real truth is I've always been good enough. I was beautiful from day one, but the lie I told myself for 40 years is I was never going to be good enough. And so I would abuse myself with perfectionism. So again, I mean, I know, gosh, we're like, what? This was supposed to be a week 11, 90-day game plan talk, and here we are talking about 10-year-old selves and digging into our truth, and I'm telling you, all of it relates. You are not where you want to be in your isogenics business because you are unwilling to tap back into that. Guarantee you. Or you've tapped into it, you've exposed it, it's painful, it's hard work, and it's too much, and so you go back to old habits and patterns. And the faces that I know well on this, I know that's exactly what you do. And every few 6, 3, 9 weeks or so, I'll get a text message or a call. I know this is what I said I was going to do, but this is what's happening in my life. And I know I haven't followed through. It's like, you don't have to be accountable to me. You need to look in your own mirror. You know why you're not doing what you're doing, because it got hard. You exposed something that was painful. And we usually just want the pain to stop. Rejection, our bodies internalize rejection the same as we internalize physical pain. And for a lot of us, rejection is the number one thing in our life that we're afraid of, right? Whether it be in isogenics, relationships, children, whatever, family. Our body translates rejection physically the same way it does actual physical pain. And so many of us bounce through our lives doing everything we can so we're not rejected. Is this ringing true to any of you? I know it did for me. And when that realization hit me, I was like, holy moly. How much time a day do I work on myself? A lot. It is my full-time job. Yeah, it's the truth. Now, have I set up my life where that is possible? Yes. However, and this is what a lot of you are going to say, well, I don't have the time that you do, Tracy. I'm not financially free. I'm not this. I'm not that. Well, you want to know something? Back when I was broke as a joke and life turned on the drop of a dime and I didn't have a choice, it was either I changed my life or I was headed to a grave. Guess what? All of a sudden, I found some time. If it's important to you, you'll find the time. If it's not, you'll find an excuse. Bottom line, what do I do exactly every day? Well, we can tap into some of that. So every kind of interaction that you have with people, will trigger something, a memory. It's why I've become the storyteller that I have, okay? I know many of you have heard me talk about storytelling, and so many of you have some stories to tell that you're keeping all to yourself. Maybe you don't know how to articulate it, but everything that happens, and even, you know I keep talking about going back to Chicago this weekend, but I mean, my family is the foundation that I was born on. And for a long time, I blamed them for my crappy decisions and my bad habits and patterns. I did. And I even ran from them at 21 years old. I got the hell out of Chicago, not just to get married, but it was really to run from the past. I didn't want to look in the mirror. And what I do every day, you know, I write a lot. And every kind of reaction, like something happened this weekend and it was something very innocent, you know, as innocent as a Cubs baseball game. It triggered something. And I didn't just accept that it was a trigger for something. I had to okay, what is that about? And start unpacking it. And a lot of that unpacking comes in writing or talking to people that I trust with every part of me. And it isn't anybody in Isogenics. I'm going to tell you that right now. They are people that have zero to do with what I do for business. It's an objective opinion, and it isn't family either. So I have people in my life that know what I do. They know I'm pretty darn good at it. They've heard and they've Googled and they've found out everything about me, yet they see me in a different light because they see this person that's willing to unpack every part, the good stuff, the challenging stuff, to understand how can you really help people at the core if you aren't getting to your own core. And so many of you want to be life coaching people and you aren't even touching the core of who you are. And let's be honest, you'll just keep selling them shakes, and that's fine. They're great shakes. They're amazing. Isogenics is amazing to help people. But I want to grow people. And what that entails is me growing me, getting to the core. So, you know, every day looks different. A lot of writing, a lot of listening to positive things, a lot of cleaning house of people that, I'm sorry, they aren't right for my life. I love them, but I'm surrounding myself constantly in the bubble with people that are good for me. And that means positive. It doesn't mean that they can do something for me. It just means that they always have a positive attitude, or if they are faced with challenges, they're going to see how they can overcome them and how that can bless somebody. Many of you have overcome some pretty powerful things, but you're not using those experiences and stories to help bless people because you're afraid of what people will think about you. You've overcome them already. But can you imagine if all that crap that I had to overcome, if I never shared any of it, would any of you have hope that if you've had a similar situation that you could overcome it? No. You've overcome many things in your life. And every little thing that you have overcome, write it down. You know, you don't spew it out on social media all at once, you know, and then take the time to reflect and really go back. And when I have those moments, this is the huge part, is I go back, and if it was something really hard, let's say from when I was younger, or even in my 30s when some of my most toxic behavior came to a head, I have to go back, and this is the most important part. It's one thing to go back and go through it, but then I start telling myself the truthful story about that and not the lies that I used to beat the shit out of myself for as long as I beat myself up for. And that's the part that people struggle with, because it's hard to say nice things to ourselves when we beat the hell out of ourselves for as long as we have. And quite honestly, when we beat ourselves up, it gives us an excuse to not play big. It gives us an excuse to not be a perfect effort. And so I'm always challenging myself every day. It looks different every day. I wish I could tell you, do this every day, do this every day. I can't. And the same thing with my Isogenics business. I don't have a set system. Other than the 14-day talk, there is zero set system in anything I do. There isn't. Every day is different. Every person is different. But I am always willing to unpack and retell the truth. The telling the truth is the hard part, because so many of us are intellectual and psychologically insightful and smart. And I am as good as it gets when it comes to insightfulness. And our brain can understand it. But if we don't start telling ourselves the truth of the old story, after all the lies we've told to ourselves about what really happened, and when somebody rejects us, the lies that we tell ourselves about that rejection, you can insightfully understand why you do what you do, which this is where the big disconnect that I was having. I got all of it. I understand. I have psychologically figured myself out. However, some triggers would send my old habits and patterns. I'm like, why? I understand why this is happening, but why do I still do it? And it wasn't until I was ready to go back and not just understand it, but feel it differently by the truth. Like, you've got to move out those lies you've told yourself with truth, the real truth. And that is what I've done over the last 8 months that has changed my life. Not just reprogramming the head. Many of you are doing that. You do personal development, you show up at events, you surround yourself even by me. And I've helped you reprogram your head, right? Many of you have told me how much your thinking has changed, right? But are you reprogramming the heart? And this is the hard work. This is the work many of you aren't doing. You're filling your head with good stuff, and it's great. You understand why you do what you do, but then you go ahead and you eat the ho-ho anyway. Or you go ahead and self-sabotage yourself and don't follow through. So an example of the truth, I would tell myself, let me think about that one, because there's many. I mean, perfectionism, that was a big one for me, because I mean, the joke, and it's so innocent. My dad, the day I was born, told the doctor to keep me and my mom both because I wasn't a boy. He didn't want me. And it was a joke. And it was a running joke for many, many years. And every time it was told, everybody would laugh. It was really, really funny. I laughed too, because it is funny. I get it. But the little person in me translated that as, I am never going to be good enough. Ever. I wasn't even born a boy, so I'm never going to be good enough. And I tried to be perfect in every area to make up for the fact that I wasn't a boy. And one of the truths that I tell myself today, every time I feel that perfectionism or the comparison game start to try and creep in, it's much more silent than it ever has been. But every once in a while, a trigger will happen where I'll feel that kind of rumble. I was like, oh, Trace, you are beautiful. You're perfect just the way you are. You're perfect just the way you are. That one is hard for me to say, because for 44 years, I wasn't perfect. I wasn't a boy. And no matter what I did, I wasn't going to be a boy. No matter what. I mean, I know that sounds way out there, but I'm telling you right now, that kind of badge saying I'm never going to be good enough, many of you perfectionists out there feel that way about yourselves. You're never going to be good enough. And so you try to control everything else around in your life to be good enough. And the fact is no matter how perfect your surroundings, your environment, the white picket fence, the cute kids, your skinny butt, whatever, no matter what, psychologically, you may think you're all good, but that heart ding, until you start repairing the dings on your heart with the truth, the real truth that God made you perfect just the way you are, and you have beautiful gifts to give the world. That's where the real growth happens. So many of you got it up here. I see you. You keep showing up, and you have done huge progress. And you're looking at me like, what is missing? What is missing? What is missing? I'm telling you what is missing is repairing the dings on the heart that cause you to go back to old patterns and habits when certain triggers. For me, it's the not being good enough. That's my number one trigger. And that comes from rejection. Number one rejection, keep me. That he didn't want me. Totally a joke. He didn't mean it that way. I get it. Logically, I get it. Right? It was a joke, and it's funny today. It is. And gosh, if we could have this conversation with my dad today, I mean, let's be real. I was the best thing that my dad ever had in his life. I know that. Logically, I know that. And if he were here today to hear me talk like this, he would make sure that I knew that. And I know it. He went to his death, and I knew it. But the ding on my heart wasn't repaired yet. And it wasn't until I repaired the ding that things started to change. Do you get me? This is how important it is when you talk to your kids. I've had to repair some dings on the hearts of my kids. Okay? But at any moment, you can change it. You can repair the dings. They aren't permanent. They're only permanent if you allow them to be. So filling yourself and your head with really good things is great. It's only part of the puzzle. The missing piece is repairing the dings on the heart. And when you start to repair the dings on your heart and the dialogue to yourself changes, especially when triggers happen, this is when breakthroughs come. Like massive breakthroughs. Yeah, you've had some tremendous success filling your brain with good stuff and doing some hard work on yourself. I know you have. The real breakthroughs came when I started repairing the dings. And now my heart is starting to look like one of those fine, polished, beautiful showroom cars. Because every time I repair a ding, it gets prettier and prettier and prettier. Right? You feeling me? You feeling me? I know that may be over the top for some of you, and I totally accept that. Because if some blonde bimbo was sitting on a call talking to me 4 years ago, I would have said, who the heck is this crazy lady? So I get it. Many of you aren't even close to being ready for that. And so the difference between me and you is my willingness to dig deep every day has gotten me to this point. It took me 4 years to get to the repairing of the dings of my heart. And that's with constant work on myself every day. So I want you to know that if you're having a hard time repairing the dings of your heart, know that it may take a decade, 2 decades to repair them. And be okay with that. Remember, at the top of that success pyramid, and this isn't about stars and circles, success is being okay with who you are every day and blessing others with that. That's success. And you need to know at the top of that is faith and patience. Faith without works is dead. So you got to have patience. And if you're not doing the work, know it's going to take a lot longer. Okay? And this bleeds into all areas of your life. It really does. And it makes all this other parts of isogenics that you're making very challenging come a lot easier. It's becoming challenging because you're unwilling to do the other stuff. I'm telling you right now, it'll continue to be hard. It will. Does that make sense? And I'm here to tell you something else. I'm going to end with this and I'll open it up. I know it's almost been an hour and a half already. I've got a sore throat. But I will open this up because I know I laid a lot of deep stuff on you. But I want you to know if you ask a question or you're going to say something, either it's going to bless somebody. So be very careful. If you open your mouth, know that your words need to help bless somebody. And you have to be willing to hear the truth because I'm going to tell it to you. Okay? We cool with that? But I want to tell you that the tweaking that God has done on me when it's quiet, and I don't mean, the quiet, I'm going to take a spa day kind of quiet. I mean the quiet when it's lonely and it's scary and it's uncertain. The tweaking that God does me in the quiet, when I'm terrified, when I'm uncomfortable, when I'm lonely, and allow the old me, when those moments would hit, I would fill it with fluff. I would fill it with people that didn't serve me because I didn't want to be alone. I'd fill it with noise. I'd fill it with alcohol. I'd fill it with food, shopping, sex, men, unhealthy relationships because I couldn't handle the quiet. And ironically, the best tweaking God has ever done on me is in the quiet when I haven't filled it with stuff and things and people and noise. The tweaking that God does on you in your quiet is what saves you when you're out in public. It really, really does. So you have to allow the uncomfortable quiet and let God do his work. and stop filling those empty spaces with things that don't serve you, people that don't serve you, friendships that don't serve you. Be okay with the quiet. And I'm going to tell you one other thing. No amount, and this is so true, and this is why I am super humble today, there is zero amount of outside achievements. There is zero amount of outside achievements that will ever fix the hurts inside. There is no amount of stars or circles that will take the dings off your heart. It may ease it for a little while, but I guarantee you it doesn't. Because I had plenty of stars and circles. I had plenty of recognition and accolades and all that crap. It didn't fix what was internally hurting me. And it was those lies that of the past that I would continuously tell myself, the dings. It's the quiet. It's the repairing of the dings that when you do have those outside things happen that are really exciting, that you'll stay humble to that. That is why I'm humble today, because I've continuously worked on the inside hurts from day one. My vision from day one. Who can I bless today? How can I grow myself? Who can I bless today? How can I grow myself? And those things have rung true. And that's why I continuously dig deep to fix the inside hurt so I can help more people. I can help a lot more people, not just in Isogenics, but anybody I come in contact with if I continuously work on the inside hurts and retell truths that I used to fill with lies. Okay? Deep stuff today, right? That's a lot for 2:00 on a Tuesday afternoon, but I believe that it probably helped one of you today. And I want you to know that I understand that the last 11 weeks I've delivered some pretty hard stuff that have exposed things and you know, that maybe are uncomfortable. And you need to understand that when you do that and you get scared and you get uncomfortable and you go back to old patterns and habits, know that that is normal. You're just not going to stay there. I have resorted back to old habits and patterns in certain areas of my life, especially with self-sabotaging my body. And that usually is a direct reflection of not wanting to look in the mirror. It's all intertwined. I want you to know that that's normal, but it's how you get back up after you get knocked on your butt that is important. So it's okay that it happens. It doesn't make you a failure. It doesn't mean you suck at life. I still have it happen from time to time. My reaction time is way faster. I mean, literally, I could have like a Mike Tyson blow to the head and pop back up now. I don't stay down in the dirt for months like I used to. So know that it will always happen. You will always have to work on this, but your reaction time, you can take a Mike Tyson blow and just pop back up the more that you continuously work on it. All right. So some of you are getting knocked on your butt and then staying there and laying on the carpet for days, weeks, months, maybe even years. And your goal is to keep giving a perfect effort and having that reaction time get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. What used to derail me for days is seconds now. And that is because of the commitment to the work on me. Okay? All right? All right. We'll give it 5 minutes. If any of you have something to say, you can open up. Again, if you're going to ask a question, be ready to hear truth. And please, if you're going to ask a question, try to serve as many people as you can. Okay? Because that's what this is all about. And if you got nothing, I'm going to go get ready for the Cubs game. So, oh, Irene, you got a question? Okay. No? Yes? No? No. Okay. Nicole.
If no one else has a question, I do, but I've asked some. So does anyone else have one first?
Well, your questions serve people. So I like that you are asking questions, and I'm going to teach you something about that. I was always that person when I was in corporate America. I was always that person at like a sales management meeting that would prolong, like every time I'd ask a question, I'd see the eye rolls and everybody's like, oh, she's going to ask another question. And you know what? I always asked questions that people were afraid to ask, and it served people. So don't ever apologize for putting your hand up and asking questions, because that's a beautiful thing, because you're serving people. You're going to ask a question that everybody else was afraid to ask, so go for it.
Okay, so in just sharing who you are and the hurts of your past, like being transparent, like you were talking about, so people know that you're real. I've also been coached to not live in the past. So not to pull all the crap and live there. So how do you, besides, I mean, I know how you do it. I've seen how eloquently you can do it. But when you know, obviously you're unpacking your past, you're living with it, you're trying to get past it, fix the dings, but you kind of want to put them away. So like I'm getting two different ways, or people telling me to do different things as far as like on Facebook. I want to be real. I want to be transparent. I want to help people, but I also don't want to live in my past because, like you, we've talked a lot about this. I have a lot of crap in my past, a lot of dings, a lot of hurts, and things that no one did to me, just life. I want to share because I know I can help people, but I don't want to live there either. So how do you, that's a magic, like a tightrope you walk.
That is a beautiful, important question, because how do you go revisit the past without staying there, right? And that takes practice, because especially if you've got a lot of hurts, you've stuffed them for so long and haven't gone back there for so long, you're afraid to go back there to at least revisit it, because you're afraid of being stuck there like you were back then, right? So, repairing the dings and being willing to go back there and saying, I have to own my part in that, whatever that is, whether, it doesn't necessarily have to be somebody hurting you. It could be a bad decision you made with somebody that you ended up with, or a friendship that you had in your life. You have to be responsible for owning your stuff, and you can only speak from your point of view. There's always two parts. I had this guy ask me a question about the guy that let me go, I bet he's kicking himself now. I'm like, well, let's be real. Yeah, I'm a pretty great catch. However, there's two sides to every story. I played a part in that relationship not working just as much as he did. And, the difference is so many people go back to the past and stay there so they can use that as an excuse for why they're not going to follow through with something that they've done. I see that. There's a difference between that and going back with the intention of, okay, I'm going to go back here so I can grow myself and use this to bless somebody. There are some days I'm not willing to go back there. If I'm not feeling strong enough, I just don't go there that day. I pick something else, but I will grow myself in some way. But when you are going back to the past, and you have to go into it with the intention of, how am I going to revisit this situation to grow me, and how will this experience benefit others? And those are the parts of the story you tell. You don't have to go into gory details. It isn't like anytime I have shared a part of my past, even if I'm still working through it, I don't go into gory details. However, my intent is I'm growing myself, and I'm blessing somebody with an experience I've had that can help them see the light. And, your personal time with this, for social media, that's my intent when I share it. And as you know, and for those of you that have followed me on Facebook, you know that that's pretty accurate. Anytime I've shared a hard part of the past, it is never gory details. It is never staying stuck in the yuck. It is always, this is what I learned about myself in it, not about other people, because you can't control people, places, or things, right? All you can control is you and your reactions to it. So it is always how I grew from the experience and how I believe it will benefit somebody else. Now, in my private time, that goes deeper. I dig deeper. I analyze the triggers, what events led to that trigger being such a significant part of my life. And I do that in writing and with a confidant, somebody objective, not somebody financially linked to you. It's really, really important that you have somebody that doesn't have something to gain from you growing yourself. So even me, I'm financially linked to you. So even though I could be somebody really that you could trust, I would advise you, and I can help you with that, finding somebody that can listen to you objectively without any personal gain from it. You know, some counselors are really, really great at that. Some are really, really awful at it. I've had awful counselors. I've had great counselors. I've been through 10 of them in my last, 14 years in counseling. And it wasn't until I got to the last one that it was good. So, again, you have to evaluate that and trust your gut instinct. But at the forefront of it, being willing to revisit stuff has to have the intent of growing yourself and serving others with it. If you're not willing to do either of those things, don't even bother. Because seriously, you're just going to end up stuck in your crap. And honestly, that'll just bleed into all areas of your life anyway. So if you're not willing to grow yourself, which was my vision board, and bless others, you may not even want to bother. But if your life isn't going where you want it to go, I strongly suggest you be willing to do those things. Because when you not only grow yourself and you have a heart of service in all things, not just isogenics, but in all areas of your life, the fulfillment and your purpose for being here on earth becomes way more important than any kind of popularity or any kind of recognition or outside accolades. Does that help? Okay. Anybody else got a question? We'll take 2 more. No? All right, I see one question. How do you determine what trashed you in the past? Well, my biggest issue today is the one that keeps recurring is self-sabotaging myself with sugar. And that isn't about body image. It is never about body image. That comes from, for me, and I'm just going to be really transparent. Maybe this will help you. And if this isn't your issue, think about an aspect in your life where this comes into play. And for me, usually it is comforting myself with food. As a little girl, when things were so unsettling in my home, as a 6-7-year-old, I couldn't turn to alcohol yet. And so I turned to food, and it was my comfort. It was my friend. It never rejected me. Again, rejection, it's putting these pieces together, and this is hard work. And it was when I felt lonely, and you can feel lonely surrounded by people. I'm letting you know, you can have an army of people around you and still feel lonely. Loneliness is my trigger. And trust me, I'm surrounded by lots of people a lot of times, and there are times that I've been surrounded by armies of people, and I've never felt more alone in my life. I've laid in bed next to people, men, that, I'm certainly not alone, but I have never felt more alone in my life. Does that make sense? So the trigger for me with that is when I'm feeling like a loneliness in my heart. And quite honestly, that is when I've turned to food. And it still happens today. I mean, there are moments, or if I've given, and I don't take the time to fill myself back up, that leaves you with an empty, lonely feeling too, right? So many of you are givers, and you give everything you have, and then you're so depleted that you're empty that you need to fill it with something. Does that sound familiar to any of you? And especially those of you that have food issues, or your parents and you just are all guilt parenting. You've got to fill that emptiness with something. And when I feel that happening to me, honestly, and this is just me, it works for me, and I still slip at least once a week. I still go to put something in my body that isn't about being hungry. It is about filling something. And when I feel that, I throw myself into the Word of God. I, again, start talking to the dings on my heart, because that's where it's coming from. It is. But that is a trigger for me. That's my biggest self-sabotaging area of my life is with food. The reason I haven't sabotaged my isogenics business, quite honestly, is because I'm in service at all times with it. And it's about growing me and helping others. When we have depleted ourselves so much and we have that empty feeling, whether it's, I'm single, I'm alone a lot, my kids are grown, whether it's a loneliness because of I'm kind of feeling that, or I'm feeling that loneliness because I'm empty, because I've give without filling myself back up at all. I throw myself into the Word of God. I really, really do. And that pulls me away from that emptiness at all times because I'm never alone with God ever. And whatever your beliefs are, whatever you believe, find that part that works for you. You know, that God is my number one. He's the love of my life, and he always will be. So it's very hard to be alone when you're wrapped into the arms of, you know, that. And so when I'm feeling that trigger coming on, I have to have, you know, my armor on and be ready. And there are days that, you know, I don't do great at it, but most days I'm getting better. My reaction time again is way slimmer. So, you know, what used to be an 8-hour binge just turned into 5 seconds. You know, it used to be months of self-sabotaging myself with bad relationships or, you know, more binging on food. And it used to be alcohol for a long, long time, has now become seconds of, okay, regroup and redirect, regroup, redirect. And you have to position yourself and surround yourself with the right people, the right tools in your toolbox. You know, mine is God and the right people. And, you know, I had to clean a lot of house in order to have room for those things to come in. And for many of you, the cleaning the house part is important and you're not willing to do it. And I get it. It's not easy. It's very unsettling, especially when kids are involved and, you know, they're looking to you for guidance. And I'm telling you right now, this is the best education I could have ever given my children, was to own my part, repair the dings on my heart, help them repair the dings that I put on their heart, and stand in my truth every day, walk in the walk I talk, and, you know, grow myself and blessing other people. I mean, that is a beautiful foundation. You know, that is a foundation that nobody can knock down. No matter who has tried, and trust me, they do. They still do. But that is a foundation. It's like, you know, the little pig that grew the house of bricks. I mean, there's nothing that's blowing my house down. Nothing. But if you build your house with a house of cards, let's say, all it takes is one flick and the entire skyscraper of cards can come tumbling down. So you want to get your foundation right. Get your foundation right. And it's never too late to start. No matter how many decades you have under your belt, no matter how many people have hurt you, and no matter how many people you have hurt. Because hurt people. So if you've been hurt a lot, chances are you've probably hurt a lot of people too. And it's okay to help them repair the dings that you put on their heart too, by saying, you know what, I own that part and I'm sorry. And when I know better, I do better. And so this is not to let you allow yourself to beat yourself up. And Nicole, as far as getting different advice from different leaders, because I'm sure many of the people can relate to that on here. You know, many of the people on this call, I'm not part of their upline or part of their leadership circle, and they're hearing something from me, and the messages that I've gotten, I'm getting is that I'm hearing something totally different from my lineage in isogenics. And all I'm going to say to this is you got to trust your gut. If I am not helping you get to a place in your life that helps make you better, then I'm probably not the person to follow, and that's totally okay. And if you are part of a lineage or a leadership team that it isn't sitting right with you, it's okay. You don't have to follow that leader. Yes, don't pull yourself out of your organization. You know, I didn't align with what lineage I had, and I just chose to move forward anyway on my own. And it's okay. It doesn't make that person bad or your person bad or me bad. It's just different. What works for me may not work for you, and that's totally okay. What works for your upline or your cross line or whatever may not work for you, and it's totally okay, but I want you to trust your gut. God gave you that gut instinct for a reason. Trust it. And yes, it may make some waves, and it's okay. Trust me, when I trusted my gut, it caused a tsunami, and I was okay with it. I was totally okay with it. And so just know that you have that inner pull for a reason. Like I said, if it's not me, that's totally okay. You know, I'm not for everybody, and I'm okay with that too. You know, and I don't even focus on haters or whatever. It's so irrelevant. You know, and if you're talking about people that have hurt you in your past, then you're not over it. Don't give it more power than it deserves. But don't also keep talking bad about yourself, because you're giving that power too. Just grow yourself and bless people. That should be number one on your vision board every day. Okay? And if you focus on that first, everything else will start to fall into place. Speak your truth. Don't stay stuck in it. Don't stay stuck in there, and only revisit it if you're willing to grow from it and see how that experience can bless somebody else. And if you're not willing to do those things when you go to revisit it, don't unpack it yet. That's some really good advice, because I've helped a lot of you go digging into it, and I probably, as I'm learning as I go too. So I know that I've had many of you digging into your past and then you don't know what to do with it. And I apologize for maybe not articulating that as well. However, if you're unwilling to grow from it and see how that experience, it's no good if you go back there and grow from it and you don't share it. It's not a gift unless you give it. Okay? So unless you're willing to grow from it and use that experience to benefit somebody else, don't even go to unpack it. And then you're just going to stay stuck. And if you're okay with that, you just keep staying stuck with it. Because even if you grow yourself and you don't bless other people, you're not growing. And eventually you'll die. You will. We are here to serve people. It's one of the natural things. It's one of the most human things that we need, is to have that connection with others. And it's our experiences that connect us. Okay? All right. I see a lot of conversation going on, but I don't want to keep everybody. If you want to go, peace out. It's all right. I want to see one more thing. I saw a question. Nicole, I've been told to move past the past and start showing what is possible and live in the now and the future and stop worrying about the past. If you still have dings on your heart, you can try and ignore it all you want. You will never be able to serve the way that you are intended to serve unless you revisit it, repair it, and bless people with your experience. It is important to show what's possible, but how you show what's possible is showing that part of it. I have shown what's possible. Yes, I have been back in my past. I have shared parts of my past, lots of it. And honestly, because I have showed that, I have showed what is possible when you do the work. And so I think, not doing that does a disservice. Does it work for everybody? No, because they don't have the intention to grow themselves and serve people with it. It is one thing to unpack the past, but if you're not willing to show the vision of what that looks like to bless people with it, then yes, don't unpack it. But there's absolutely, I challenge that every time. If your intent to revisit the past is to grow from it and bless people with that experience and to show them what's possible when they do the work on themselves, I will challenge that. I don't care who's in front of me. I will challenge that and take them to the carpet every time. I will. I don't care who it is. Your experiences will benefit others if you're willing to grow through it and show others how to grow through it too. Somebody's got to go first, always, right? Why wait around for somebody else to show them? Be the beautiful person that God made you and go first, okay? But like I said, if you're not willing to grow and use that experience to bless somebody, then don't. I agree. That's where I agree. But if your intention is to grow you and help others grow, then by all means you share it and you go for it. Your past doesn't have to define you, and it doesn't have to confine you either. But unless you unpack the parts of the past that keep having habits and patterns rear their ugly heads, you're going to have to revisit it at some point. All right? Does that help? Okay. And you know what, Nicole? Trust your gut. And anybody else, I see a lot of action on that subject. It does depend where you are headed, and it does depend what you want to do with it. I mean, if you want to revisit the past so you can beat the crap out of somebody else, don't bother. Don't bother. You just have to own your part in every part of your life. You can't blame anybody else, even if horrible things were done to you. I get it. I mean, I know some people on this call that have had awful things happen to them as a child that they didn't deserve. They never asked for. Nothing they did warranted that happening to them. And it wasn't until those people took ownership of their habits and patterns as a result of that the big shift happened. So, if you're going to the past to, blame somebody, you know what, don't even bother. Again, every failure I've had, every bad thing that's happened to me, I've chosen to go back, grow from it, and use that experience to help one of you. And not only has it helped thousands and thousands of people all over the globe, but it has helped this heart heal too. And that is what we're here for. That is what we're here for. And so in my moments of emptiness, instead of the ho-hos and sugar, I lean into God and what he put me here for. And it helps me stay out of those habits and patterns and really focus on the main thing. And that is growing me to help you grow. So that is all I have. I love you guys. We went over by a whole 20 minutes. And I'm not going to talk to anybody the rest of the night. I love you all. Thank you for helping me grow and for helping me help you grow, because that I know is what I'm here for. And if we drink isogenic shakes along with it and slam some e-shots while we're at it and bless some other people with that amazing nutrition, I think that that's great too. But this kind of work is what keep people in the game of life a lot longer. And you will keep them in your organization too, because they will trust you and they will go to the ends of the earth with you and they will want what you have, so they will do what you do. And so if you keep doing the work on you, they will be in the game a lot longer. There were many people that wanted to quit isogenics a long time ago, but because I've stayed in the game and growing myself, they've stayed in too. And I don't say that to pat myself on the back. It's because they want what I have, not in stars and circles, but that peace I have in my heart. So you keep showing the way, all right? When you know the way, you go the way and then you show the way, okay? Know, go, and then show it, all right? I love you guys. Peace out. This has been recorded. I will upload it here and it will be available till Thursday night. After that, it's long gone. So if there's somebody that you feel needs to see this, pass the link along. You will have to find it on YouTube. It cannot be posted in any of the Isogenics Facebook groups, understandably so, which is totally okay. It will be posted within my team group. But if you are not following me on YouTube, follow me at Strive for Change. It's my YouTube channel. And again, it'll only be available until Thursday night for 48 hours. So, people ask me all the time why I put a limit on that. And it's quite honestly because we only get one shot down here on earth. And if we're waiting for the right time to hear this, now is the time. Now is the time to take action in your life. Now is the time to put some headphones on. You don't have to be looking at me to watch this or listen to this. You can have this. And like I said, I'm no professional. I'm not licensed counselor. I'm not licensed in anything except I have a license to serve, and that's all I'm here to do. So I love you all. Thank you for helping me grow too, and we'll see you next week, back on Monday. And again, look for the link in the post and follow me on YouTube. Love you guys. Peace. Go Cubbies!